So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this channel, Geeks for Geeks School, and this is the web page that we are going to develop today, design today in the web lab on code.org. And as you can very well see, there are two navigation bars which are present right now on this beautiful web page. So, one is this navigation bar which is floating on the right side, right on the top of this web page, and one is there present on the left side, right? And the view of the one which is present on the left side is completely different than the one which is getting reflected over here on the top in the right side of this window. Okay, so let's see how can we design this kind of beautiful web page using basic HTML and CSS coding on code.org in the web lab environment. So we need to first access the web lab environment, and how can we do that? We just have to hit this button and automatically we will be able to see the environment after a short while. Okay, so this is the web lab environment. Now if suppose you want to rename your project at any particular time, so you just have to hit this rename button. Okay, and here you can write down the name of your project. So today we guys are designing a website with two navigation bars. So this is the title, or you can say the name with which I am saving my project. Okay, so I'm done with that. Now let's first define the code, the HTML code for this side, or you can say this navigation bar which is getting reflected right on the top in the right side on this window. Okay, so let's do that quickly. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to define a separate division section. Okay, and whatever components with which this navigation bar is getting created over here, we are going to define all those things inside this division section. Okay, let's do that. So the everything over here is a hyperlink, whether you talk about home or you talk about then services, then clients, then contact. So these are five different options available to us over here in this navigation bar. Now for defining these five options, we can make use of a tag, that is anchor tag. Fine, and then we can write down, we can pass hashtag for now. Why? Because if suppose the user will hit any of the hyperlink, I would like him to land on this home page again. He should come back on this home page. So that is the reason I have placed this hash over here. And then we can define a let's not define a class. We'll define it when we will be customizing the view of this this anchor tag. Now what is the first tag? It is home. So how can we get that home reflected? We just have to write down home like this over here, and let's enclose this text within these two anchor tags. So as you can see, now the home is visible to us over here on the stage area. Okay, now what we can do, we can copy this whole thing and let's put it over here, and let's do it some 1 2 3 4. So now there are 5 different anchor tags which I am able to see over here in between these division section. Alright, okay, now the second one is about. Let's replace this with about. Third one is services. then it is clients, then contact. Okay, so I'm done with defining the anchor tags for all these three texts over here. Okay, now let's define the required HTML code for these options which are getting visible to us over here in the side navigation bar. Right, so what we can do, we can use the same steps. So I'm copying this whole division section and I am placing it over here like this. Okay, but before doing that, I'm eliminating it again. Before doing this, we have to we can define a class also for this division section and this anchor tag. Okay, so that we can copy the whole thing with the class names and paste it over here and use the same code for this side navigation bar. Okay, so I am going to define a class for this division section first. Let's make use of this class named navbar. Okay, then we need to define a class for this first tag, which is home. Why I am defining a class, a separate class for this anchor tag? Just because here by default this green color is getting reflected at the bottom of this home. So in order to access this anchor tag separately and define a background color for this anchor tag, okay, separately, we need to make use of a class. We need to define a class for this anchor tag inside which this home text is present. So I am defining this class active for this first anchor tag. Okay, I'm done with this. Now let's copy this whole thing and place it over here. Okay, now for the second division section, let's first replace the name of the class. So for this, I am going to have a class with name side nav. Okay, so for this navigation bar, which is getting reflected over here in the top right side of this window, the name of the the name of the class is navbar. And for this black navigation bar over here, the class is side nav. Okay, remember this thing. Fine, now let's eliminate this class from here because I don't want this for this first anchor tag, and I think rest everything is going to remain the same. So this is home, absolutely right, then it is about, then services, then clients, and then contact. Okay, so we are not required to make any other changes in this code. Okay, done with defining the required HTML code for this side navigation bar also. Now comes this body part. Okay, so for this, first of all, I would like to define a division section, and let's define a class also for this division section because everything is coming in this main section. So I am defining main only for the class. I'm using this main only as a class name for this third division section. Now in this third division, we are going to first put this text. So it is getting reflected in a bigger font as in comparison to this whole thing, right? So how can we get this kind of text? We can make use of header tag. Absolutely perfect answer. So it is header tag we can make use of. I am copying this text from here and placing it in between the header tags. Right, that's how we can get this clients reflected over here. Now what else do we have? So we have 1, then 2, then 3, then this is 4th paragraph, and then this is 5th paragraph, then this is 6th paragraph. So in total there are 6 paragraph which we are able to see getting reflected over here besides these navigation bars. Now how can we get these paragraphs over here on the stage area. So what we can do, we can make use of the paragraph tags, right? Let's now copy this whole thing and place it in between the paragraph tag like this. So this is the first paragraph which I've defined over here. Now I'm going to copy this whole thing and let's place it in between the second paragraph tag. Done. Then we have this third paragraph now. Let's copy this and I am placing it in the third paragraph. Okay, so rest all the paragraphs are same. This third paragraph and then fourth and then fifth, the text which is getting reflected over here is same. So what I am going to do now, I am just copying this whole thing. Now I'm going to paste it 3 more times. So 1, then 2, then 3. Now how many paragraphs do we have over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So see, we are done with defining the required code for everything which is getting reflected over here on this page, and we have all the elements now. All the elements are visible to us now on this stage area also. So everything is perfectly fine. Now let me just tell you one more time how I have how we are trying to code this whole web page. So we have divided this web page into 3 different sections. For every section we have made use of this division tag. So this is the first section, and for this one, for this navigation bar over here, we have made use of this division tag. Okay, and we have placed all the required HTML code in between these two division tags. Then the second part is this navigation bar which is getting reflected in the side of this window. So for this navigation bar we have again defined a separate division section. Again, all the required HTML code is present inside this division section, which we have defined for this section over here. Then for this whole thing over here, which is getting reflected right in the center, okay, this body, this whole text, so we have defined a separate division with name main. Okay, and then there are some tags we have used for defining all these paragraphs, right? So now there are 3 different divisions. The name of the class name of this first division is navbar. The class name of this second division is site nav, and the class name of this third division is main. Let's now come on this style.css class and define the required code for styling these components over here. So first of all, I'm going to eliminate everything, whatever is getting reflected over here. Okay, now the name of the first class is navbar. So we are going to make this navigation bar first. Okay, so how can we access these anchor tags? Using this navbar class, we can do it very easily. For accessing any class, you just have to place a dot first, and then you need to write down the name of the class, place these 2 curly brackets, and now whatever code you want to define for this class, you can define it inside these curly brackets, right? So the first thing that I would like to define is the background color. Where is that background color? This is the one. Now what is the background color of this bar? So I think I will be able to get it with the help of this code 555. Okay, yeah, so it is 555 only. Now we need to define the width. Okay, width of the navigation bar. So I would like to have a width of 400 pixels. I don't want this to cover the entire width, because it is covering only some part of this web page. Alright, so that is the reason I've defined 400 pixels over here, and that's what you will get to see as an output. Okay, now it is floating on the right side in the top of this page. So how can we make it float on the right side? We can make use of this property float, and then we can pass this value right. Okay, so everything is going to come on the right side. As you can see, everything is getting reflected on the right side now. Okay, let's pass something for the overflow also. So auto, right? Fine. So we are done with defining the required CSS code for this navbar class. Now I am going to customize the view of the text, which is getting reflected inside this navbar. The first thing that we are able to see is, they are hyperlinks, and we are not able to see any kind of underline below these text over here. Okay, so how can we get the underline eliminated from these texts which are getting reflected over here right now? For doing that, we need to first access the anchor tags, and the best way to access them is by making use of this class name, inside which all the navigation bar, all the anchor tags are present. So after that, you can write down the name of the tag, which is A, and then let's define the properties with their respective values in between these two curly brackets. So the first thing that I would like to see is, I would like to see them floating on the right side. Okay, right now they are getting reflected somewhere in the center. I don't want that to happen. I would like to see them floating on the right. That's how we can do it. Now everything is getting reflected in the right side on this navigation bar. Alright, the second thing that I would like to do is, let's align the text in the center. Okay, so everything is now going to come in the center of the navigation bar, and let's define some padding also, because as you can see, there's some space in between this text and the border of this navigation bar. So if you want to create this kind of space inside the navigation bar, so that's what for you will be needing this padding property. Okay, for that you can make use of this padding property. Let's pass a value, let's say 12 pixel. Okay, for this padding. So now this is what you will get to see as an output. Okay, so now the width, the height of the navigation bar has increased just because of this padding property. Okay, because this padding property over here has created some space in between this text and the border of this navigation bar. Okay, now let's define the color of the text. So right now the text is getting reflected in white color. So we are going to have a white color text. Okay, great. Fine. So now these options are more visible to us. Okay, and let's now define the text decoration. So with the help of this text decoration, you can eliminate this underline, which we are able to see getting reflected over here with below these texts, right? So we can pass this value none, and as you can see, the underline is now no more visible to us. Okay, now the only difference between this text which are getting reflected over here inside this nav bar and the text which I'm able to see over here, okay, is the font size of this is pretty big. Font size of these texts is pretty big. How can we increase the font size? We can make use of this font size property. Okay, and let's pass a value, let's say 70. How about 17 pixels? I think it will definitely help us. Yes, so this is what you will get as an output now. Okay, fine. Now when we are bringing our cursor on these text, so we are able to see the background color changing. Fine. And besides, the shape of the pointer is also changing. It is changing to a hand kind of structure. How can we get this kind of how can we get this kind of output? That's what we are going to define the code for now. So there is a property named hover that you can make use of. Okay, so now we can first define a background color. So I would like the background color to change to let's say, because it is changing to some black color, right? Some dark black color. So for dark black, we can make use of this code 000. Now when you'll bring your mouse on these text, so this is the effect that you will get to see. Fine. It is perfectly fine. Okay. Now besides this, there is a background color. There is a different background color for this home tab. Now how can we get this kind of output? How can we get this kind of navigation bar? So for doing that, what we can do, you remember we defined a separate class for this home text, right? So we can make use of this class. The name of the class is active, and let's access this anchor tag with the help of this class name. So for doing that, we just have to place a dot and write down the name of the class, and after that what we can do, we can define a definite background for this home text. So for that we can make use of this background color property. Okay, now what is the color code of this background color which is getting reflected in the back of this home text? So for finding that out, we can make use of the color picker tool, which you can easily find in the game lab on code.org. So just give me a short moment. Let me access that game lab environment, and with the help of that color picker tool, now I am going to find out the color code of that green color which we are able to see in the back of the home text. And by the time I am accessing that platform, do like and share this video please, so that more and more students can come and join this lecture and enjoy this HTML and CSS codes which I am teaching on this beautiful channel named Geeks for Geeks School. So for opening the game lab, we need to hit this create button, and then we can hit this game lab option. Automatically it is going to redirect us to a very beautiful environment of game lab, and then we can access the animation workspace just by hitting this option animation present right on the top of this panel. Now we can hit this new animation tab, and then we can make use of this draw your own option for creating a empty frame on this animation workspace in game lab. Let's now hit print screen option to take the screenshot of this screen, and for copying that screenshot over here, for pasting that screenshot over here in this empty frame, we just have to hit Ctrl and V together, and automatically the image will be pasted by the computer over here, right? Why we are not able to see that side navigation bar? No problem, we can make use of this option also. We can paste the copied part in the paint software, and then with the help of the selection tool we can select this navigation bar. Okay, we need to press Ctrl and C together, and after that we can press Ctrl and V together for pasting that part over here. So now the navigation bar is getting reflected over here in this animation workspace of game lab, Let's make use of this color picker tool to find out the color of this background. So this is the color code. Let's copy this and paste it over here. Okay, now when you will refresh this page, so that's what you will get to see as an output. So the background color has now changed and we are getting this navigation bar over here like this. Fine, so it is perfect, it is working perfectly fine. Now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to define the code for the body section. Let's do that quickly. So for accessing the body section, we can write down this body over here, and let's now define the font family for this body. So everything over here should get reflected in this font. So it is Lato font which we are able to see over here. Okay, Lato, then sans serif. So now when you'll refresh this stage area, you will be able to see everything getting reflected in this font, right? So everything is now perfectly fine. Now we are going to define the required CSS code for this side navigation bar. So the class that we have defined for the division section, in which we have placed the required anchor tags for this side navigation bar, is side nav. For accessing the class over here, we need to first place a dot like this, and then we can write down the name of the class. Let's place these two curly brackets. Now inside the side nav, the first thing that I would like to do is I would like to define the height of this side navigation bar. So as you can see, it is covering the entire height. It is taking the entire height, that is 100%. So let's define a height of 100% for this side navigation bar, and then we can define a width of, it is taking a width of nearly 150 to 160 pixels. So I'm going to make use of this value 160 pixels for now. Okay, fine. Now we need to define a position, because it is the position of the side navigation bar is fixed. Okay, so we can define this value fixed for the position of this side navigation bar, and after that we don't want to see any kind of space in between this black border and this page's top. So top should be equal to 0. Fine. Left, in the left I don't want to see any kind of space, so that's why I am defining this value 0 for the left part also. Fine. Now let's define a background color for the side navigation bar. So I'm making use of this background color property, and this time I am going to have this code for the background color, hashtag 111. Okay, now we are able to see some gap in between this black rectangle and this first option, home, which is getting reflected on this side navigation bar. How can we get this kind of space? So we can make use of padding and top. Okay, and let's define a padding of 20 pixel. So that's how you will be able to get a space, in between this home and this side navigation bar's top part. Okay, let's now define the required code for styling these anchor tags, which we have inside this class named side nav. So for accessing the anchor tag, we can make use of this codes dot side nav. And how can we access the anchor tag? We just have to write down the name of the tags like this, and now we can define the required code inside these two curly brackets. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to define is the padding part. So I would like to see a padding of 6 pixel in the right side, then 8 pixels padding, then 6 pixel padding, then 16 pixel padding on the top. Okay, so now this is what you will get to see as an output. Fine. Now we are going to define something for the text decoration. See, there is no underline below. There is no underline for these text over here. Right? How can we remove these lines which are getting visible below these text to us? So for doing that, the way we have eliminated the lines from these text, in the same way we can eliminate the lines from these text also. We just have to pass this value none, okay, for the text decoration part of these text, and automatically you will be able to see the changes getting reflected over here. Okay, now let's play with the color of the text. So I'm going to have, let's find out the color code of these text first. So let's make use of this color picker tool, and you just have to hit this text and automatically the color code you will be able to see getting reflected inside this input box. Let's place the color code over here. Okay, so as you can see, the text is now getting reflected in a gray color. Let's define a font size for these texts. So I would like to have a font size of, let's say, how about 25 pixels? Yes, 25 pixels is perfectly fine. Okay, now we can have a display of a block. Why? Because we would like them to stack on, we would like to stack them on each other. Fine. That's the reason I have passed this value block for this display property of this attribute of this anchor tag. Fine. So we are done with defining the required code for these anchor tags. Now we need to define a code with which we can get, with which we can get this kind of output. When I'm bringing my cursor over these text over here, the color of the text is changing. So how can we get this kind of effect? We can access these anchor tags again, and now we are going to make use of the hover property. So when the user will bring the cursor on any of these texts, I would like the color of these text to change to white, let's say. So F1, F1, F1. I think we'll be able to get the required output with this. Let's first refresh this window. Yes, we are able to see the required changes getting reflected over here now. Okay, so when I'm bringing my cursor over these buttons, the color of the text is changing. Okay, fine. Now let's come on this part, this main class. Let's access this class. So how can we do that? We just have to place a dot first, and then we can write down the name of the class, and inside this we are going to define the required code for styling everything which is getting reflected over here. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to do is, let's define a margin left. Okay, because I would like to see it getting reflected right in the center. Fine, I don't want it to overlap with this side navigation bar. So we can define a gap in between this side navigation bar and this text over here. So the best way is to make use of this margin left property. Now what is the width of this navigation bar? Let me check that. So the width of this side navigation bar is 160 pixel. I would like to define the same value for this margin left property. Okay, now when you'll refresh this stage area, you will be able to see everything getting reflected over here, and now this text is not going to overlap with this navigation bar anymore. Okay, just because of this margin left property. Now let's define a font size for everything whatever we are able to see inside this web page. So I would like to have a font size of 28 pixels, let's say. Okay, and then we can have a padding also. So I'm going to have a 0 pixel 10 pixel padding. Then we can define some margin in the top part, for the top part. So I would like to see no gap in between this top part and this text over here. So that is the reason I've passed 0 for this margin top property. Now let's refresh this code and check out what is the output we are going to get. So now this is what you will get to see as an output. Okay, let's go back on this main form and hit this about button over here. So when you will hit this about text, what is happening? The URL over here is changing. So it is redirecting us to a page with ID about.html. If you will hit this contact text, it is going to redirect you on this page contact.html. Similarly, if you'll hit this clients button, so the URL will again change and it will redirect you to a page named client.html. Similarly, if you will hit any of these options over here, the URL will change, right? If you'll hit this about button, the URL is going to change to about.html. Okay, so how can we connect, connect these text with different pages? What we can do, we can create different pages first. But before creating those pages, we need to come on this main HTML document. Okay, now here we have to make some changes. So let's replace this one with about.html. Or before doing this, let's first create 4 different pages. How many pages are there? 1 2 3 4, yeah. And this index.html, we are going to use it for this home text. Okay, let's quickly create 4 different HTML pages. Now how can we create HTML pages? We can hit this add HTML button present on the top left corner of this window, and this is what you will get to see. So a new HTML document will be added to this environment. Now you can rename this document just by hitting this drop down and using this rename option. So I'm renaming it to about.html. Okay, let's hit this add HTML button and create one more HTML document. So I'm renaming it to services. Okay, let's repeat the same step and create a new page. So this is going to be for clients. Now the last one is going to be for the contact. Okay, so we are done with creating all the 4 required HTML pages. Let's go on that index.html page now. Now here in place of this hashtag, I am going to define the name of this index.html page. Okay, so when the user will hit this home text, automatically he is going to come on this index.html page. Now in order to make sure that he is there on index.html page, we can change the text which is getting reflected right on the top over here. So I'm changing it to home page. Okay, and then we can come over here and replace this hash with this about.html. Okay, and then we can come on this services and replace this hash with services.html. Let's do the same thing for these two anchor tags also. So this one is for the clients.html and this one is for the contact.html. Fine. Now we can copy this whole thing and put it in place of this hashtag over here. Let's do the same thing for the other anchor tags also. So now this one is for services.html. Then we have one anchor tag for the clients part, and then we have this one for the contact page. Okay, so we are done with making the required changes over here on this index.html page. Now I am going to select this entire code, entire HTML code, by pressing Ctrl and A together. And let's copy this entire code using Ctrl and C together and paste it on this about.html page. So we need to first select this code which is already there present on this HTML document, eliminate everything and paste that copied code over here. Fine. So this is now the code for this about.html page, and let's now make the required changes over here. So the only change that you have to make is replace this home page with about page, or let's say about us. Fine. Now I am going to repeat the same steps again for these three HTML documents. Let's select the entire code, copy it and paste it over here in this clients.html page. So this is going to be the client page, clients. Okay, done with copying this whole code, coming on this contact.html and pasting the entire code over here. So this is the contact page, right? We need to replace this with contact us, and then we need to come on this services.html and paste the entire code over here also. And this time we need to replace the text over here with services. Okay, now let's use this link and run this web page on a browser. So this is what you will get as an output. Okay, now if you will hit this home text which is present right on the top, so this is what you will get to see. So the URL will change and you will land on this index.html page. So right on the top you will be able to see this home page getting reflected. Now if you will hit this services over here, automatically you are going to get redirected on this services page. Okay, so that's how you can create a full-fledged website of your own using simple HTML and CSS coding. Right, so as you can see, we are able to get the required output. Fine, this is it from my side. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Do like and share this video in your group so that more and more students can come and join this beautiful channel Geeks for Geek School and learn these coding things free of cost. Thank you very much for joining me in this tutorial. Have a great day. Bye-bye.